Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Hilchot of Lulav. So it's a simple palm branch, but from a halachic standpoint, it's quite complicated. Many halachot involved. We'll go over a few of the basics. So in terms of the size, it's usually not an issue. It has to be 4 tefachim from the bottom of the shidra, the spine, to the top of the shidra. That's 4 tefachim according to the Reb Chaim Na'eh. That's 8 centimeters to a tefach, 32 centimeters. And according to Chazon Ish, more like 10 centimeters for a tefach, so that would be 40 centimeters. That's not to the top of the lulav, but the top of the spine. So that's usually not an issue at all. The only thing one has to be concerned regarding the height is that the top of the spine, the top of the shidra, is a tefach above the hadassim when they're all put together. That's in terms of the size. Now, working our way up from the lulav, from the bottom to the top, you have the spine as the middle part, the shidra, and you have a tiomet. Tiomet is a machloket argument. What is a tiomet? It's the double leaves as they go up. It's a double leaf. Each leaf, it looks like one, but it's really a double leaf. There's many double leaves there. According to the Shulchan Aruch, each of the double leaves is a tiomet, while according to the Ramah, the tiomet is the middle double leaf that reaches the very, very top of the lulav. So Shulchan Aruch is much more lenient because, according to him, nechlekat tiomet, if it's split, it's only a problem when each tiomet, each leaf is split. While according to Ramah, if just the middle leaf, the top middle leaf, if that's split, then that's the problem of nechlekat tiomet. And we, the Ashkenazim, are machmir stringent like that Ramah. So we have to understand, what does it mean, nechlekat tiomet? Does it mean if the top leaf has even a tiny split in it, that's a problem? The answer is no. Some opinions say only when it is split all the way down to the spine. That's the only time it's a problem. Others, like the Gra, say no, only if rove, majority of the area is split. Meaning, if there's a few tefachim from the very top of the lulav down to the spine, let's say 4 tefachim, only if it's split 2 tefachim and more is it a problem, but less than that, rove is closed. The Ramah does say, however, that mitzvah and Mahadran, the most Mahudar way is to have it totally closed. Okay, some say what that means is it's just a fear that if it's open a little bit, it might open up more and more and more. So you want to ideally have it closed all the way. According to the Taz, what it really means is, even according to the Chumrah Ramah, closed doesn't mean have to be closed all the way, even up to a tefach, up to 8 centimeters, it's fine as well. Chai Adam is more machmir. He says it should be really closed all the way. And some want to say that once it's open a little bit, if that could result in it opening more and more and more, so even now it's viewed as if it's open. So some are machmir stringent to try to have it closed all the way. The next level, if it's not closed totally, if it's closed up to tefach, meaning just the top tefach, if you centimeters is open, it's fine according to the Taz. And in terms of the din, in terms of pure din, if it's open, but the majority is closed of the spine, the tiomet, then it is fine. So that's point number 2. So the first point is the shiur. The second point is the tiomet, the middle leaf, according to Ashkenazi tradition, where ideally if it's totally closed, that's great. But in terms of din, as long as the majority is closed, then you have the top area where this Shulchan Aruch and the poskim talk about himnak. Himnak means where it's closed. There's no problem of nechlekat tiomet. It's closed almost totally or mostly, but it's fine in terms of the din. The only thing is the top leaf opens up, the tiomet opens up like a V, where it looks like it's going in 2 different directions. So that could already be an issue, and that's something that people should look at the Mabit and other poskim say we have to look into that. Is it an issue of himnak where it's going on the top in 2 different directions? So it doesn't mean it has to be perfectly stuck together, but as long as they're going up, once they start splitting apart like a V, it's not exactly precise exactly at what point do we say it's himnak or it's just a natural growth going up. If it could be tight, that's the ideal. Some poskim actually want to say, there are Fisher and others want to say that even if you have a little bit of glue and you put it together and it keeps it tight, so you have the Chumrah, the Chai Adam, and the Ramah that keeps it tight together and it avoids the himnak. So some say that's a good thing to do. Regarding all these halachot, a person, of course, has to talk to his posek regarding finding the best lulav. This is just an overview. Now, what about sometimes you have that brown, the korah, that brown stuff that's on top of the lulav? Is that good? Is it bad? So some want to say that when you have it, so it's covering up something, what's underneath? Maybe we should be concerned. Others say no. There's a chazaka that there's no issue of nechleket yomet. The chazaka says fine, and there's no problem of himnak for two reasons. One, we assume it's fine; it's not split apart like a V, and maybe there's as far to say that when you have the korah, the brown, and it fills it in, so it takes away the appearance of a himnak. It doesn't look like it's split into two because you just have it going up, and then you have a brown there, and it doesn't look like it's split into two at all. So some say that's actually fine. Then you have the issue of akum, if it is bent. Okay, akum of af ayin kaf vav mem is an acronym for obi kohav mazalot, Gentile. This here is of kuf vav mem, akum mean bent. So if it is bent, there is an issue. If it's derech briato, so meaning that's a natural kind of bend, then that's all right. What does that mean? We hold the lulav with the shidra, the spine, towards us. So if it bends towards us, the lulav bends towards us, then that's fine. If it bends to either side or away from us, that is a problem. But Mishavur says only if it bends enough that it looks like a magala sickle. So that's not too often that happens. So Meker Adin Chazon Ish says that's fine. If it bends towards us, it's certainly fine. That's derech to its natural growth. And if it goes to either side or away from us, only if it bends in such a severe way, it looks like a sickle, which is a pretty severe bend, not just a little bend. Nevertheless, many poskim say that it's ideal to try to get one that's totally, totally straight. It's always important to know what's din and what is a chumrah one. That's just being strict. The next issue is regarding bent. So the whole lulav we spoke about being bent. What about the top leaves are bent? Okay, and they're just bent over like that on the top. So then Shulchan Aruch says it's fine, but that's not so simple. Some poskim were concerned about that's considered a problem of being bent, while the Rosh says, Ani ohev et zeh, ohev ani et zeh. I like it when they're bent on top. Why? Because it keeps it together and it avoids the problems that we discussed. We discussed the problem of nechlekach tiomet, where the tiomet is split. Well, it's not split because it's nice and stuck together. We discussed the problem of himnak, where it's going up a V, but here it's everything stuck together. So the Rosh likes that dafka. But the only problem is others are concerned about it. So Mishabura says, it should be avoided. Certainly you don't want all the leaves that way because some say that specifically is the problem. And therefore you shouldn't have that as well. You have niktam tiomet where it's cut off on the top. You don't want to cut off on the top. Some want to say, well, tiomet is only when you have all the pieces cut off like the Shulchan Aruch. And if you just have the top piece, then it's fine, cut off, because all the other ones are intact. However, we hold like the Ramah. And the Ramah says, no, the middle piece is the tiomet. So you don't want even that cut off. You want it all the way up to its natural growth without it being cut on the top. One has to make sure they avoid that problem. What about yavesh, dried out? So the Shulchan Aruch paskins that if it's dried out, it loses all its color, its green color, and it's white, that's a problem, which Baruch Hashem, our lulavs do not have that issue. There are Maz times they were in trouble. They didn't have great access to lavim, and he said only if it's so brittle, you touch it, it falls apart. And he says because it's Shasat Chak, a situation where they couldn't find any good lulavs, he says there were room to be maker that only if it's that extreme case of dryness. But we don't hold by that because Baruch Hashem, we have lulavs, and therefore we hold it only if it loses its green color, it's a problem. We don't really have a problem with yavesh. The only thing we do have is on the top, it's brown very often. So that is usually from the sun. The Chazon Ish says if it's just brown from the sun, then that's not considered yavesh. And many are making like that. Many of the briskas say, you know what, let's try to get a lulav that's perfectly straight, that's together all the way, that has no signs of yavesh even from the sun. It's a good chumrah for those who could find all that, but you have to know what the din is. And finally, the Shulchan Aruch talks about nifratzav is totally spread out all the leaves. You want the leaves going up. So even if it's not nechlet yomet, the shidra is fine, and it is not a problem of hinnak, you don't want the leaves going all the way out. But Meker Adin, as long as it's going up, even if it's spread a little bit, it is fine. Some, as I said, are makbid to try to have everything together, closer. But Meker Adin, that is fine. So just to sum the basic ideas of a lulav. One, you want to have the size, 4 tfachim. You want to have the shidra. From the shidra up is 4 tfachim. You want to make sure it's not nechlikat yom and make your din. It's according to Shulchan Aruch, it's when all of the leaves are split, which is rare. But we, the Ramah, passing like the Ramah, which is just the middle one, that's a tziyoma. So you want to make sure if you can have it as tight as possible, all the way up, that's the ideal. But if it's open a little bit, and as long as it's less than rov, according to din, it's fine. And those are machmir to try to have it closed all the way, or at least up to a tefach. Then you have the hemnek halach. You don't want like a V. You don't want it bent. But in terms of din, it's only problem bent if it bends away from you, like a sickle, or to the sides as much as a sickle. If it bends towards you, it is fine. Some try to have it totally straight as a chumrah. The bend on top, Rosh likes it, others don't like it. Burnt, yavesh is a problem. You don't want it yavesh, but if it's burnt from the sun, Chazon Ish is maker with that. And niktam tiomet, you don't want it cut. You want to make sure it's complete on top. And finally, you don't leave spread all the way out. You want them going up. But many a maker that if it goes up, Orbach and others, Surreal Orbach says if you put on the table and you look at it, pretty much all of them go up together. It's fine in that case. So then it is a fine lulav. That's an overview of some of the halachot of lulav. As I mentioned, the person, of course, should talk to a posek with any shaylas on his lulav. Shalom.